Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Art Chats, where we have discussions about subjects like self-care for creatives, the evolution of an artist's voice, and learning to be vulnerable in sharing your work and gifts. I'm so glad you're joining me. I'm Emily Gillespie, an artist in Central Florida. I do these art chats each week, Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m. And so if you're joining me for the first time, welcome. Grab a drink, sit down, and listen. So let's get started. Last week, I talked about a few ways to be a happy creative person. Today, I've got some more tips to share with you so you can build a more successful and thriving creative life. Number 1, commit to long-term growth and be patient. Flowers don't bloom in a day, and you can't expect creative growth to appear overnight either. Recognize that this is a long process. Have patience with yourself, and as I said last week, don't compare yourself to other creatives. It takes time to build your technical skills as you're beginning in any creative field, and then it takes more time to discover your creative voice. These things cannot be rushed. It takes a lifetime to become your true and absolute best. Think of it this way. Van Gogh produced over 900 paintings over the course of his career. Monet made almost 2,000, and that's just paintings. That doesn't include their drawing, sketches, plans, and unfinished work. So all those hours that they put in of exploration, experimentation, and most of all, repetition, resulted in tremendous amounts of experience to draw from. And that is how they grew and developed. And that's what shaped their later work. And that's what made them ultimately become what we consider masters. And the same will be true for you in whatever creative disciplines you pursue. Number 2, don't be precious with your supplies. Sometimes the most fun you can have is taking the time to just play with your materials. That time is not wasted, and neither are your tools. Think of it as an investment in yourself. There are so many times I've purchased art items over the years and then didn't touch them for ages because I was afraid of messing them up, or doing the technique wrong, or wasting a precious tiny amount of something that I paid either a lot of money for, or it took me a lot of time to convince myself to invest in those things. But do you think it's more wasteful to let those things sit in your studio without being used? Like, let me see, right here, I have just a box of a couple Unison pastels in a couple different colors. Yeah, there we go. And I've used them a lot now, but when I first bought them, they sat in that box for over a year because I was too scared to try them. I was too scared to mess up and to waste them on something that I thought maybe would just be for practice instead of using it for something that was worthy, like a finished piece. But if you don't use the things in practice, you're never going to know how to use them in the finished piece. So these beautiful things that you have, whether it's pastels or a specific tool or supply or beautiful hand-torn paper or handmade paintbrushes, or whatever supply you would really love to have in your stash. Those things are gifts, and they're not just gifts for you, but also for the people who are going to experience your work. Without those things, the actual specific final version of the piece that you made, that wouldn't exist. I mean, it might be similar, but without those specific tools and the time that you put in, it would be a different piece. And again, that's not necessarily bad, but that specific finished piece wouldn't exist to bring joy and beauty to the hearts of the people that view your art, to your audience. So don't hold yourself back with your supplies. Use them, because that's what they're there for. Number 3, prioritize your creative work, even and especially if that's not how you make your primary income. We all have other responsibilities in our lives, but it's really important to take the time and engage in the activities that you're passionate about. Some people might say that that's obvious, it's a no-brainer, that kind of that kind of thing is just self-care in its most basic form. But I think sometimes those real obvious things are maybe the things that really need to be said out loud the most. So often the fun things get pushed to the end of our to-do list after all the other chores are completed. You know, laundry's done, we've prepped lunch for the next day, the kitchen's done and clean, everything else is done. And then you can do your art or creative activities. But the thing about a to-do list is it resets every day. Every day you're going to have to clean the kitchen again. You're going to have to make yourself lunch. You're going to have to wash clothes. Maybe not every day, depending how many people are in your family, if you want to keep up with it. But those things repeat. They recur again and again. So if you're waiting to get all that other stuff done before you take time to make art for yourself or to create for yourself, you're going to be waiting a long time. If you use that logic, you'll never make it to the end of your list. So you really have to be intentional about making the time, putting it on your calendar or in your planner, and then take the time. If you schedule an hour for creativity, and going off on a little side note, it doesn't have to be a full hour or a huge chunk of time. You can just have 10 or 15 or 30 minutes, and those little bits of time will add up. So don't get stuck in the mindset either that you have to dedicate like a whole day or an afternoon or an hour for it to count, because that's not the truth. But if you schedule time on your calendar for making, use it, because if you don't use it, it's just gonna get filled up by something else, your daily routine, the mundane to-do of everyday life. Life is all about balance, and even though none of us are ever going to perfect that, you also can't only work and be productive all the time. When your heart is full from pursuing the things that you love to do, you'll be able to pour out more effort and intention and care into the more mundane things about daily life. Whether that's your other responsibilities, time with your family, giving to others, whatever it might be in your own situation. But it's well worth it. Number 4, build a community. Sure, you can create on your own. You can sit and paint in your living room by yourself. You technically don't need another person or a group of people to sit and make a piece of art like this one. You really don't. I mean, art is not, it doesn't have to be a team activity like a sport. But can you thrive that way? can you really grow and become the artist you're meant to be on your own? I don't know if that's possible. I personally spent years and years thinking I didn't need anyone else in my creative life. I'm an introvert and a homebody, and I would generally love to be just at home, not out having a grand social life, or running around from activity to activity or parties or whatever. Home is my happy place. So, especially when I was a newer artist, I was really intimidated about connecting with other local artists in my community. Mount Dora is known for its for the arts, and we have a center for the arts and all kinds of artistic events. We have really big art fairs every year that people come from all over the country and the world to attend and show their work. So putting my work out there was really intimidating for me. I thought I was going to be judged and found unworthy. I didn't know how supportive people would be. So I just didn't really try to get engaged in the local art community. And I thought that was fine. I thought it was fine. Then, and so just to kind of give you a reference here, I started creating in 2012, and in 2021 was when I went to my first art workshop in person. So that is a whole lot of years that I was just on my own. But in 2021, I worked up the nerve to go to my first in-person art workshop in Jean Oliver's studio in Colorado, and everything changed. I was just blown away at what I had been missing the whole time as far as community and relationships and just being able to connect and engage with people who loved creating as much as I did, who understood what I was thinking and talking about, because the people in my life here at home are definitely supportive, but they're not really, most of them aren't artists themselves. So it's just a very different mindset. So when I got to Jean Oliver's studio and started meeting these other artists and creatives, I was just absolutely amazed at how good it felt and what I had been missing, and really, like, why had I waited so long? So, in my opinion, you have to have a network in order to grow and to be successful in your creative work. And that doesn't have to be an in-person network. That can be online or in person, or a hybrid of both. And of course there's going to be differences between those two based upon the physical distance between the people in your group, how close you are, how often you can meet. You can... Technology is so amazing in many ways, and in this aspect, in this context, it's so cool to be able to meet people from across the country or on the other side of the world and build a relationship with them. But there's also no replacement for having face-to-face interactions with people, with other artists and creatives and people who think the same way that you do. But wherever they are, the people you surround yourself with, it's a big part of how you set yourself up for success. They can offer support, they can offer encouragement, advice, and the most beautiful part, I think, is friendship. I've been lucky enough to have several really beautiful friendships grow just from a lot of them have come from social media, and then we meet in person, and it's just awesome. So the people who I've met from my time, whether in the live workshops, locally, from social media, blogging, these are some of the most kindest, most supportive, and beautiful souls that I've met. And I really didn't give them enough credit even before I met them. Like I said, I was afraid that I would be judged and found unworthy. But that couldn't be further from the truth. They're all so supportive. And if you haven't allowed yourself to have this kind of opportunity, I really hope you give it a try, because you never know what might come of it. Number 5, be clear on exactly what happiness and success mean to you. Not everyone has the same definitions. So here's a few examples. Does success mean being able to find time every day for making and creativity? Does it mean selling a lot of work and traveling around the world? Does it mean making a lot of money? Or does it mean having the freedom to build your life and live it exactly the way that you want? And those questions are really broad. They cover a whole range of different possibilities. But there's not a wrong answer. Our culture tends to glorify the boss babe, the side hustle, the girl boss, freelancing, picking up Uber in your spare time to drive and make extra cash. Whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of people now that work multiple jobs. Maybe they have crazy schedules, but it's all in the quest to bring in additional income. But being busy is not a way to measure, it's not the only way to measure success. So I would just encourage you to take the time to think really carefully about what it is you want to get out of your creative activities. And then build in some systems that will allow you to stick to that. Don't let yourself get sucked into someone else's version of success. There are a lot of people I know who consider themselves successful, and their life doesn't look anything like what I would want my life to look at. And that doesn't mean they're wrong, and that doesn't mean I'm wrong. It's a very personal decision. Number 6, practice your craft every day. This is another one that you might think is obvious, but to practice is to grow. And if you don't consistently put time into your work, you're not going to improve. This is true for anything you'll ever pursue in your life, and at every level that you pursue it at, or that you reach. It's the same as training for a sport, whether you're just learning that sport or if you're in the major leagues, learning how to play an instrument. When you're a child, you're new. You might come to an instrument as an adult and be a beginner then, or you might be, a professional, like a concert level pianist. It doesn't matter. Just because you are a professional or an expert, that doesn't mean you don't need to practice anymore. It still takes dedication and time and practice and a lot of work. So the important thing here is being consistent. You don't necessarily have to do the thing every single day. It's important to allow yourself time to rest and to do other things. But in this case, I'm saying practice every day, because of the simple joy that it'll bring to your heart. If it's something you love, make time for it. That's That's my tip there. Number 7, the last one, share your work. And this goes along with number 4, which was building a community. Of course, your work should be first and foremost for you. With the exception of commissions, you're probably not going to find a whole lot of joy if you only do what other people tell you to do. Even artists who take commissions don't only do that. They still find and make the time to engage in their art practice in other ways for themselves. It's important to interact with others, to share your work, to share the things that bring you joy, and to be able to see that joy that other people experience as a result of what you do and who you are. When you share your work, you impact people and you make a difference, and you just might inspire other people to step out into their gifts as well. Just to recap for you, all these tips. Number 1, commit to long-term growth and be patient. Don't be too precious with your supplies. Prioritize your creative work. Build a community. Be clear on what happiness and success mean to you. Practice your craft every day and share your work. I hope these tips have been helpful for you. Thank you so much for being here with me tonight. If you guys want to stay in the loop and find out about new art that I've got coming out, upcoming events, behind the scenes, and other things that are inspiring me, make sure you're a part of my subscriber group. Go to emilyjalewski.com and sign up. That's the same spelling as my Instagram handle here, emilyjalewski.com. I'd love to have you. The next art chat will be next Tuesday, right here at the same time and same place. I will see you guys then, and in the meantime, I hope you have a great week. Bye.